I will say is I will go right in the center of that mountain and circle Caleb Williams.
Moving him up?
It's not even that I'm moving him up yet. I don't want to move him up yet, but trust and believe Caleb Williams is on his way up because he's found his footing. Like he's definitely found his footing in these next couple weeks. This is his performance in the last 3 games. When you look at where he started to where he has been in these last 3 games, completion percentage up there close to 70%, passing yards close to 300. Like, we're seeing some things in Caleb that we were hoping to see at the beginning of the season. And now when you start to connect with the guy that goes down the field and DJ Moore, we saw the 20+ yards completions, 11, and you have the Jags coming up. You have a bye week. After the bye week, I am telling you right now, if all things continue to trend in the right direction, this week, week 6 against the Jags, which I expect it to, Caleb Williams will be in that top 10, top 8.
Yeah, well, and look at the next 3 defenses.
Okay. Don't get upset.
Look, the Jags' pass defense, brutal. Washington's pass defense, brutal. Arizona's pass defense, brutal.
Well, do it against a good team.
I was going to say, to channel my inner wilds, it was the Carolina Panthers, for goodness sake.
Okay, well, some smart people who picked the Bears to have a very good season, maybe even reach Super Bowl, it was based on the fact that they had a very soft opening 10 weeks while Caleb was getting his footing, and that is exactly what's happening.
Yes.
Drew, go ahead.
All right.
Okay, let's talk about this. Caleb Williams, Chicago Bears. One, it's cool to see Caleb Williams continuing to get this momentum and building this up. I feel no need to bring down Caleb Williams' individual growth and stats and reduce it to him playing bad teams. I don't think that's fair. If we want to talk about the team as a whole and say, are the Bears really that good, or any other team for that matter, this isn't unique to the Bears, they only beat a bad team like the Panthers, that I think is fair game. And I talk about that all the time, right? I really, really do. But when we're evaluating, especially young quarterbacks, again, I don't agree with this when we're talking about seasoned veterans. I don't care what Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, any of these other quarterbacks do against bad defenses, because it's like, okay, you're a seasoned veteran, you're proven to already be a really good, great, elite quarterback. Like, whatever you do there, I'm not going to be like, that was amazing. Like, you better be able to pick apart bad defenses. But that's not the case for like a rookie quarterback, okay? So no, I think saying, oh, he's only doing it against bad teams, kind of like Brew and Wilder are saying, I think is kind of absurd. And again, I've said this about, especially with other quarterbacks in the past, you have to look at why a quarterback is taking advantage of a bad defense, or how they're winning. Are they just taking advantage of a bad defense, and so now their numbers are inflated, or they don't look good? Were you throwing to just wide open guys the whole day? Were you throwing a little 2-yard pass that was then being broken tackles and ripped off another 30, 40 yards or whatever, right? Was there 0 pass rush, so you just had all day in the pocket nonstop? Was your run game able to just be dominant, getting 5-6 yards a carry, right? Then those things can be a little bit misleading. But that was not necessarily the story for Caleb Williams. So that's why I really kind of wholeheartedly disagree with some of that analysis. Joe Flacco torched the Jaguars. Honestly, he played great, and it was because of Joe Flacco's ability to to throw the deep ball, wildly accurate. Like, just absolute pinpoint accuracy. So we could say, oh, well, they're not good enough to cover the deep ball, but you need Joe Flacco to be able to throw those passes that were unbelievable, right? You know, PFF ranked him like 2nd best quarterback in the NFL week 5. So you can't just say, well, that was bad defense. You have to look at the reason why these things are happening. So yeah, Caleb Williams deserves the praise and deserves the credit for continuing to grow and get better and better. Now, like I said, if you want to say, well, wait a second, we don't know how good the Bears are because of who they beat, then I think that would be fair game. Because you're like, well, what are the Jags doing offensively? What are the Panthers doing offensively? What can the Rams do offensively? Right? Because then you're looking at the complete picture of a team, right? Then those things matter. And I think that would be totally fair. But when evaluating a rookie quarterback in his 4th, 5th, 3rd game, it makes no sense to be like, well, look who he's playing. He's playing the Panthers. Okay. And you know what? There's a lot of other quarterbacks in the league who don't look like that against the Panthers, the Jags, whoever. There's seasoned veterans who don't look like that. So it's not a give me. This idea that it's equivalent to them just playing like a high school defense is just, it's absurd. It really makes no sense. You're playing actual NFL players. The only way I could justify it and say, this is what, is if the team was truly decimated with injuries. They had to sign 15 guys off the practice squad. Then I could say, all right, are these actually NFL players right now? Is this an actual NFL defense, or is this just, glorified preseason or glorified, college at this point, right? Then I could understand it. But that's not the case, okay? So we sometimes take things too far to the extreme when we say this team's bad defense. And again, this is specific to rookie quarterbacks. So I keep seeing that again and again and again. It's like we can't ever give any of these young rookie quarterbacks their flowers. It's always like, well, look who they did it against. And it's like, it doesn't matter at this point in their career. The fact that they're showing to be able to, that they can do it and do it with a level of consistency even, is remarkable. If it was a one-off game, if Caleb Williams was playing bad, and then he had one great game and it was against a bad defense, and then went back to bad, then we could say, yeah, it was probably a fluke game or whatever. He was able to beat a bad defense, but yeah, he obviously is still being, overwhelmed by the good defense, right? Then that could make sense. But that's not what's happening here, because Jaden Daniels is getting similar criticism. I think probably less so because his numbers have been so big and they keep winning that it's a little bit harder to attack him. But they'll still say, well, look what he did against the Browns, and the Bengals have a terrible defense, and yada, yada, yada. But Caleb Williams is obviously catching some of that, and I just don't think it's completely fair. It's just like, under that logic, then like, what could he do? Because, Greg said, and I kind of took issue with it before, where he goes, oh, he's doing what we thought he was going to do in the beginning of the season. And it's like, well, what constitutes the beginning of the season? You wanted him to do it from week 1 and week 2? I mean, he's starting to do it in week 3, 4, and 5. So it was like, okay, it took him a second. But based off of this schedule, what would make you happy in terms of when he could have these numbers? Because, like, again, Wilds and Brewer, like, do it against a good team. And it's like, okay, so, like, what team right here? What type of games could he have then that would make you feel happy, right? Like, does he have to absolutely ball out against the Minnesota Vikings, and that means now that he's good, or that he's worthy of praise, or worthy of saying, hey, he's growing, he's getting better? It's just too harsh of a standard for a guy who has played literally 5 games in the NFL. 5 games in the NFL. And we want to hold these quarterbacks to the standards of like an 8-year veteran. Doesn't make sense. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Caleb finally finding his footing on the mountain? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.